California Governor Gavin Newsom faced off with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in a debate last night on the Sean Hannity Show. Did you watch? We'll hit some of the highlights. This is one of those, I watched it so you didn't have to. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre angrily stormed out of yesterday's press briefing after being pressed by an African reporter on why he wasn't being called on to ask a question. And if you're a McDonald's hamburger fan, you've got some changes coming up. According to the Wall Street Journal, McDonald's is set to make some major changes to their most popular item on their menu, their hamburgers. And Nikki Haley has had a record week, a number of endorsements from billionaires, and is raising a lot of money. But some of the big donations are coming from some unlikely supporters. I'll explain that later. Welcome and glad to have you in the MyPhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. I'm Joey Hudson, and this is Just the Truth.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The face-off was chaos at times. They were just talking over one another. And I'm speaking, of course, of California Governor Gavin Newsom, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, as they had a debate last night on the Sean Hannity Show. Here's some of the highlights. Newsom used a segment of the debate focused on border security to rip into Governor DeSantis for what he said was trolling and playing political games with the migrant crisis while taunting him for trailing former President Donald Trump by a significant margin in his home state of Florida. Newsom went in for the kill, if you will, accusing DeSantis of trying to out-Trump Trump. Last night's debate addressed a wide range of topics, including illegal immigration. Moderator Sean Hannity showed a graphic showing the number of foreign nationals that had been found at the southern border over the last couple of years. Many of the nationals coming from China, Russia, Iran, Syria, Afghanistan. Hannity asked both candidates if that fact increases the odds of terror attacks in the U.S. being perpetrated by people who have crossed over the southern border illegally. Here's that it's changed from last night.
Look at these numbers. Between October 2021, October 2023, border agents encountered 6,386 nationals from Afghanistan, 3,153 from Egypt, 659 from Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, 538 from Syria, 12,605 from Russia, and a whopping 26,113 from China. Now, the next question goes to you, Governor Newsom. What are the odds that Biden's open borders have allowed terrorists and terror cells unvetted into this country? Is that a clear and present danger to every American?
The odds are 100%. Of course our enemies are going to take advantage of this. He opened the border. He's violating his oath of office to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. He's knowingly having 8 million come in. And yes, there's criminal aliens. There are terrorists. There's a lot of fentanyl. That we've had tens of thousands of fentanyl deaths. I've met a lot of angel parents who have lost kids to fentanyl overdose. And the problem is, you'll have a college kid that may take some pill not knowing that there's fentanyl in it. And then right there, that can be fatal. They're poisoning our people. And Joe Biden is sitting on his hands. He refuses to take care of the border. He refuses to hold the drug cartels accountable. This is the vision of Biden, Harris, Newsom. Open borders. Americans suffer. And Americans continue to die because of fentanyl overdose. There will be, unfortunately, a terrorist attack at some point that we'll be able to trace back to our southern border.
God forbid. By the way, do you see that risk, Governor Newsom?
Hold on.
Governor, do you see the risk?
Joe Biden put out not only a comprehensive plan, he consistently puts up plans.
Hold
on, but Sean,
is there a risk?
I'm going to answer your question. I support border security. I think the asylum system is broken. I believe that we need.
I understand that.
I'm the only guy here that's a border state governor. You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you, Ron? You're down 41 points in your own home state. On the issue of immigration, Joe Biden put a $14 billion immigration package up in front of Congress, 2,300 border agents, as well as custom officials, 1,000 new law enforcement officers to deal with the fentanyl issue. And by the way, that's a major issue in your state, 41% higher overdose rates than the state of California. And here's what I haven't heard, not a peep from Ron DeSantis. They want to demagogue this issue. You want to play politics with issues. You don't want to solve this issue. Why don't you lead your party and support that $14 billion package?
Hold on. I have a.
In Newsom's opening remarks, he fired a shot at DeSantis' struggles in the GOP presidential primary, saying that while they had profound differences between them, one thing they both had in common was that neither of them are going to be the nominee in 2024. We're going to visit that in just a moment. Then during a discussion on the economy and the various unemployment rates in Florida versus California, Newsom sought to defend the record of President Joe Biden's administration. At one point, Governor DeSantis accused Newsom of running for the Democrat nomination, but won't admit it. He was cut off by Hannity, who jokingly asked, "Is Joe Biden paying you tonight?" He's talking. Hannity's talking to Governor Newsom because many times during last night's debate, Newsom referenced Joe Biden and was trying to defend Joe Biden's record in the White House. He reminded him that this was supposed to be a state versus state debate, not a Washington, D.C. debate.
Employment rate is 2.8%.
That dovetails into my next question,
Why?
Governor.
Because it's a command and control economy. They have a political agenda that they're pursuing.
Let me
at the
ask that
expense of
question.
People.
On with the question of jobs. I think it's important. You know what? That affects.
By the way,
that affects
the
everybody.
Biden administration, the last 3 years, it's been a master
Joe
class
Biden
of job
paying you
creation.
tonight?
3.9%.
I thought this was state versus state.
No, but it's about the United States of America. I thought this guy was running for president of the United States. If
You
you're
are
running
too.
for
You just won't
you're
admit
running
it.
for a third
You
term.
just
Sounds like
won't
you're
admit
running
it.
for a
You will not
third
admit it.
term.
Why don't
All right,
just
gentlemen.
admit that you're
Hold
running?
on.
All right, we can't
Hold
talk.
on
We
here.
can't talk. I'm going to move on to the next
hovering.
question.
And again, at times it was just like chaos. You couldn't hear anyone talking because they were talking over one another. I'll have to give Governor Newsom some credit, though, because he probably had the line of the night when in his opening statement he pointed out, again, that neither of them will be their respective party's nominee in 2024.
Well, it's good to be with you, Sean. It's nice also to see you in a tie as well tonight. Good to be with you, Ron. And
I dressed up for the occasion, Governor.
No, I'm impressed and I'm grateful. Look, it's an important occasion. This is an important conversation. And I think it's important to the folks watching. They're probably wondering, what are we actually doing here? And I want to answer that very directly. I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse. You want to roll back hard-earned national rights on voting rights, on civil rights, on LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, but also access to contraception. You want to weaponize grievance. You are focusing on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with. You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So, Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engaging them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Ouch. Now that kind of stings. While some have speculated, of course, that Gavin Newsom could potentially challenge Joe Biden in the 2024 Democrat nomination, Newsom has multiple times shot down the speculation and even endorsed Biden's reelection campaign. Now, there's also the theory that Newsom could potentially take Biden's place on the ticket at the Democrat convention next summer. We'll see. You know, there's a lot that can happen between now and next summer when both parties have their conventions. Now, Governor DeSantis, meanwhile, continued to as he continues to slip in the polls. He hasn't been as strong as a lot of people expected. since the launch of his presidential campaign back in May. He's now neck and neck with Nikki Haley for second place, nearly 50 points, both of them, behind former President Donald Trump, who is overwhelmingly the front runner according to Real Clear Politics polling average. Did you watch last night? Love to get your take. And by the way, I'm still not quite sure of the purpose of last night. Are you? Can someone explain to me why, other than TV ratings, why these two governors were even debating one another last night? One final thing, and this is indicative of last night's debate. At one point, they literally debated how to pronounce, or the proper pronunciation, of Vice President Kamala Harris's name.
Let's return our focus to education.
Well, when we opened the schools, we bucked all of those people June of 2020. He kept the schools closed for a long time, and that had devastating impacts. And why? What Gavin Newsom does in California
talking about
is
education here at first.
to the teachers union. Whatever they tell him to do, he does. He will never balk the teachers union. That's why the kids were locked out of school for so long. Joe Biden is in the pocket of the teachers union, and so is Kamala Harris. That's why they fought
by the way,
school
it's not
openings
Kamala Harris.
when he
Shame
came
on
in
you.
there.
It's Kamala
when they had
Harris,
that in
Ron.
there.
It's Kamala
Biden came
Harris,
into office
Madam
and he
Vice
brought in the
President
teacher
to you,
union to
Kamala
be
Harris.
able to do
Stop
all these
insulting.
different things to try to keep the schools closed.
Kamala, whatever it is, Vice President. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Love to get your take on, first off, did you watch it last night? Secondly, can you explain to me why it was even important? Why it was even a thing? It was an event? Again, other than TV ratings. 864-477-5639. You can leave me a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Evidently, the Trump campaign was watching, which I guess is expected, and a message on Truth Social last night saying that his GOP opponent is thirsty like an OnlyFans model and debating California Governor Gavin Newsom because he is so desperate for attention. On this Truth Social post, they went on to say Ron DeSantis is acting more like a thirsty, third-rate OnlyFans wannabe model than an actual presidential candidate. Instead of actually campaigning and trying to turn around his dismal poll numbers, DeSantis is now so desperate for attention that he's debating a grade-A loser like Gavin Newsom. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chong said in a press release titled Kiss of Death on the day, of course, that they were debating yesterday. Chong continued, at the debate, Ron will flail his arms and bobble his head wildly, looking more like a San Francisco crackhead than the governor of Florida. This isn't a prediction, it's a spoiler, he said. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome. If you're a McDonald's hamburger fan, you have some changes coming up. According to the Wall Street Journal, McDonald's is set to make some major changes to their most popular item on their menu, their burgers, of course. But first, and by the way, you probably shouldn't be eating those burgers. Let me talk with you about PhD weight loss and nutrition. Have you gained a little weight around the waist? That visceral fat, that's the most dangerous? Let me tell you the solution. 3 years ago, I was introduced to Dr. Ashley Lucas at PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, and 3 years later, I have been able to maintain that weight loss because this program is not a fad diet. It's not actually it's not even a diet at all. It's a lifestyle change. They teach you about food, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. It's all based on the science of nutrition. It worked for me, and it will work for you as well. If you're ready to lose that weight for the last time, let me encourage you to go ahead and call today and set up your initial consultation. 864-252-4925. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. I know some of you are thinking, well, Christmas is just a few weeks away. Now's a great time to go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and start thinking about kicking off the new year, 2024, the presidential election year, by getting healthy. And that's what PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition will help you do. They help me. They'll help you as well. Find them online as well at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers and their fans. All right, so back to the McDonald's burgers. McDonald's says that their menu is going to look the same, but there's going to be some major changes to the burgers. The Golden Arches said that the new and improved burgers will include over 50 modifications. Now, how can you change a burger? How can you make 50 changes to just a simple burger? Chris Young is McDonald's Senior Director of Global Menu Strategy. He told the Wall Street Journal, "We can do it quick, fast, and safe, but it doesn't necessarily taste great. So we want to incorporate quality into where we're at." The changes come as the fast food corporation gears up for an ad campaign, which will feature our best burgers ever. McDonald's signature burger, the Big Mac, you've heard it many, many times, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, is also going to get a makeover. The Journal said that the iconic menu item will feature 2 all-beef patties that are cooked in smaller batches for a more uniform sear. The revamp will also include more secret special sauce with lettuce, cheese, and pickles that will be fresher and meltier. Meltier, is that a word? Meltier? I guess so. The former sesame seed bun will also be transformed into a buttery brioche with the sesame seeds more randomly scattered for a homemade look, they say. At McDonald's headquarters in Chicago, Chef Chad Schaefer has been perfecting the new burgers. Get this, he's been working on this for the past 7 years. The chef made 1 double cheeseburger in the fast food's current standard and 1 in the new way. Schaefer said, "1 is hotter. It looks meltier." There's that word again. "Look at how my fingers sink into the bun. Smell it, and you smell a big difference," he said. He said that the old McDonald's burgers recipe was kind of dry. This one, he says, is kind of dry. It cracks. He was pointing to the old burger. And this is the best case example at headquarters. The new burger patties were first tested in Australia, we're told. They're expected to roll out in the U.S. in early 2024. The West Coast and the Midwest will be the first, with of the about 13,000 locations of McDonald's to experience the new burgers, we're told. Comments are welcome on the Truth text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Do you love your McDonald's burgers? Democrat staffers did not take too kindly to the border wall-themed Christmas display outside of Republican Representative Eli Crane of Arizona. Now, here's what all the fuss is about. An initial picture was posted on X by a guy named Jason Johnson, who is the press secretary for Democrat Representative Raul Grijalva of Arizona. The picture shows a mock brick red border. It's capped with fake snow and plush elves outside the entrance to Representative Crane's office. I thought it looked pretty ingenious. One sign on the door reads, "Border Patrol elves only." Another display sign reads, "Have documents ready," and "Port of entry" above the entrance, in obvious reference to checkpoints along the U.S.-Mexico border. Representative Eli Crane's office has the most insensitive, charged, and insulting Christmas decor I've seen in my 5 years on Capitol Hill, Johnson posted. Normally, Longworth second-floor Christmas decorations are a bipartisan and amiable contest. So now in Washington, they're arguing about Christmas decorations around their office doors. Aaron Fritzner, Deputy Chief of Staff to Virginia Democrat Representative Don Bayer, responded to the post, accusing Crane and his staff of ignoring the original meaning of Christmas. Fritzner wrote, "In addition to being stupid and in terrible taste, Eli Crane and his staff are showing impressive ignorance of the nativity story." He said they should read chapter 2 of the Gospel of Matthew to remind themselves what Christmas is all about. Chapter 2 of Matthew details, of course, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem and the subsequent visit by the 3 wise men from the east. In response to Johnson's initial post, Crane Press Secretary Zach Kohler shared a snap on X of the door to Representative Grijalva of his office, showing it bare of any decorations, just had a cactus sitting in the corner. He wrote, "Looks like your office takes the contest about as seriously as your party does the crisis at the border." Leave it to Washington to be arguing over Christmas decorations. And speaking of arguing, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre walked out, actually I should say stormed out of yesterday's press briefing after being pressed by an African reporter on why he wasn't being called on to ask a question. Now this is the party of inclusion, right? This is the party that wants everyone to feel included and not and included in everything that they do. Equal opportunity, that type of thing, you know? So the clash between the two marks the latest run-in that Jean-Pierre and Simon Atiba of Today News Africa, who has accused the White House before of discrimination for not allowing him to ask questions during the briefings. Atiba asked National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby, who was in yesterday's briefing, "Can I ask you a follow-up on Angola?" Kirby had previously answered questions related to the visit of Angolan President Manuel Conclavas to the White House. Jean-Pierre, who was calling on reporters to ask questions of Kirby, just ignored Atiba, and you could hear it. I watched some of this video. He kept trying to talk over some of the others, asking why she was not calling on him. Atiba continued as the reporter called on Jean-Pierre and attempted to ask her a question. Jean-Pierre said, "We can end this briefing if it's not going to be respectful." She stepped up to the podium and reminded them that she would just cut it off right there if they couldn't behave.
Follow up on Angola.
One question.
It is so surprising that you don't take, if you are receiving an African leader, you can't take a question from an African journalist.
We can end this right now. Sorry, I have one question. So basically, Johnson, Marco Rubio.
It's not about ending the briefing. I want to ask an African question because you are receiving an African
question. Thank you so much. Oh my God.
All right, we can end this briefing if it's not going to be respectful here. Chris.
That's what I'm saying. You are receiving an African leader and you don't take questions.
Thanks, everybody.
I have a question about gas prices.
Thanks, everybody.
Can we do one about the falling gas prices?
And with that, Jean-Pierre just walked out of the room, exited, appearing a little agitated, didn't look back. The White House has threatened Atiba earlier this year with revoking his press privileges after another viral heated clash between he and Jean-Pierre went viral. This was back on June 26th when he was critical of her for not allowing him to ask questions. Jean-Pierre's office directly addressed Atiba in a letter that the reporter later shared on social media. She chided him for the continuous interruption. On the Truth text line, Jeff wrote, "I was on my way to Lowe's. Now I'm going to Home Depot." Now, this was in response to the story of an organized boycott of Home Depot in response to one of the Home Depot founders, Bernie Marcus, saying that he would continue to support Donald Trump even if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime. Franklin writes, "Loving the show, great information and content, but you need to get your listeners to hit that follow button. Be consistent. Keep up the good work. God does have this." Thank you, Franklin. And Franklin's right. If you're listening and you haven't followed us or subscribed, depending on the platform that you listen to your podcast on, be sure and do that. Do it right now. Just click follow or subscribe. That way you'll get notifications each day when we update our show. Katrina writes, "Ditto Dan Bongino on our appreciation to be living among y'all, faith, family, and country." This in response to a letter I shared with you yesterday about Dan Bongino and how he enjoys living in the South and has had nothing but a very positive experience of people being very kind and generous and God-loving people in the South. Faye writes on the Truth text line, "I can't imagine why anybody in their right mind would want our country to model California. What on earth are Americans drinking? Is there a brain between their ears at all? Newsom's own father-in-law lives in Florida." Does he really? I'm not aware of that. We'll have to check that, but thank you, Faye. On the positive, encouraging text of the day, texter says, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to try. God bless. Thank you. Thank you for that. Getting a lot of good response on the raccoon story earlier this week. I shared a sort of a parable, if you will, about a raccoon infestation and getting it out of your house. It's something that's being circulated. It was emailed to me, and it's, of course, not really talking about raccoons. It's talking about the fact that if you have a raccoon infestation, you don't care about the guy who can help you with that. You don't care what he looks like. You don't care what he wears. You don't care what he sounds like. You just want him to get the job done. That's being equated to the idea that President Donald Trump just gets the job done. We don't care that maybe he says some things that we wouldn't say. Maybe he acts a way that maybe we wouldn't act, but still he gets the job done. Many of you commenting about that. One email says, that's the best explanation of why conservatives will vote for Trump, if they can, that I've ever heard. Thanks for sending that Trump raccoon story in, and thanks to Joey for sharing it. It was spot on. I would love to know who wrote that piece. They nailed it. I loved it. And from the email inbox as well, Jennifer writes, in reference to the same story, hey, Joey, Andy just got home. We broke out a bottle of Coastal Merlot because I told Andy to get ready for a toast after I played him something from Joey's podcast. So I played him the Trump raccoon story, and he got it quickly, and he loved it too. And at the end of the story, we toasted the Donald. Andy said, boy, Joey had a good one today, didn't he? Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Truth Text line as well. I'll share those with you in a future show. You can also leave me a quick voice message. As always, emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. I love to share things with you that people email to me, or that people post on social media, or maybe they share with me on social media. Quite frequently, I talk about my love of animals, particularly my love of dogs. You know how much Peg and I just love Jesse and Simon, our two little Cocker Spaniels. And there's just something about dogs in particular to us that really they just still our heart. And if I see one that's sick or being abused, it breaks my heart. There's a story that someone emailed to me, unknown author. It's titled, To My Rescue Dog. It reads like this. There's no need to flinch when I lift my hand, no need to cower each time I stand, no need to run when I come near, no need to tremble, I see your fear. You can sleep with both eyes shut, don't need to jump when you wake up. Your food is yours to eat in peace, no need to fight to keep your feast. You don't need to lie upon a hard floor, the beds and sofas are yours to explore. Don't need to sit out in the rain, the house is your shelter, your new domain. I cannot erase the memories and the fears, I can't compensate for the wasted years. All I have is what you see, but I give you it all, and I give you me. I give you these arms to comfort and hold. I give you this voice for the joys you'll be told. I give you my heart and abundance of love. I give you my soul, and I hope it's enough. Again, author unknown. That's a wonderful message to our furry little friends. They're part of our family. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is said to be raising a lot of cash to fuel her quest for the GOP nomination. But on the money reports, it's coming from an unlikely source. I'll explain that up next. First portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Are you tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff with no appliance knowledge whatsoever? You tired of going into one of the big box stores asking about a refrigerator or a dishwasher and they just point to aisle 39? Well, you're not going to get that experience when you go to Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They have a lot of brands, features, and they'll explain each of those to you. They'll ask you some questions and try to get the right appliance for you and your family. That's why I recommend shopping at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. It's where I've been shopping for appliances for many years now. They have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and nearly perfect reviews on Google. The team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have the knowledge, that you need to have the confidence in your purchase. They have a great service department, an award-winning service department actually, extended warranties, and they have you covered well beyond the sale. Check out their new Overstock Appliance Center. It's at the Market at the Mill in Pickens. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. It's where I buy all my appliances, and I hope you will too. Find them online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. So the New York Post is talking about Nikki Haley getting some key endorsements this week from Republican kingmakers. Some wealthy Democrat donors, they say, have also begun quietly funneling cash to her campaign. The old story, politics makes strange bedfellows. This is a prime example. In a bid to chip away at Donald Trump's odds for the GOP nomination, a group of Democrat National Committee donors are sending checks to Haley, again, according to On the Money and reported by the New York Post. Even as they continue to publicly voice support for Biden and push for his White House bid, according to sources. Deep-pocketed participants view the unusual diversion of funds as an opposition effort against another Trump presidency, according to insiders. One source said that Democrat donors thinking, if we're going to lose, let's lose to her, not to Trump. Wealthy donors have a lot of different ways that they can hide contributions to candidates by funneling cash through shell companies, political nonprofits, donations that we know as dark money. The report says that indeed Haley's left-leaning backers are keeping as mum as possible about their efforts, a source added, saying they don't want the Biden-Harris team to catch wind of it. Haley is still trailing Trump dramatically. In New Hampshire, she's polling around 20% compared to Trump's 42%, according to a CNN poll. Still, that's a healthy increase of 8 percentage points versus the previous CNN poll that was taken back in September. A lot of money can go a long way, notes Charles Myers, chairman of Signum Global Advisors. He said, quote, if you get a handful of billionaires to endorse you in American politics, that means you have unlimited money. In the last election cycle, Democrats spent $53 million to boost Friends GOP candidates in primaries in an effort to give mainstream Democrats a better shot at getting elected, according to the Washington Post. It's a strategy that is a bit controversial. It's a strategy to try to tank Republicans' chances of winning a general election that was largely successful, even in the midterms. This time, donors say that the approach is different since the aim is to present voters with two centrist candidates and keep a far-right candidate from winning. One source said, as with everything around Trump, we're in new territory, including political fundraising. Haley's list of supporters is growing pretty quickly after some of her key endorsements this week. On Tuesday, she won the backing of the Koch brothers and their huge political network, Americans for Prosperity Action, an endorsement that can seriously help her ground game in a lot of key primary states. Haley has what it takes to lead a policy agenda to take our nation's biggest challenges and help ensure our country's best days ahead, Americans for Prosperity Action said in its announcement this week. They said, quote, with the grassroots and data capability we bring to bear in this race, no other organization is better equipped to help her do it. On Wednesday, J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon urged all business leaders to, quote, help Haley's campaign. Dimon said in the New York Times, even if you're a very liberal Democrat, I urge you, help Nikki Haley too. Get a choice on the Republican side that might be better than Donald Trump. They can't stand the idea that Donald Trump could be sitting in the Oval Office again. They're pulling out all the stops, both Democrats and Republicans who have always opposed Donald Trump. Billionaire Ken Lagone, who backed Trump in 2016, says he's considering supporting Haley. He's going to be meeting with her reportedly in the next few days. Earlier this month, billionaire Ken Griffin, who has supported Ron DeSantis in the past, says he's actively contemplating switching teams here and supporting Haley's campaign. It could get very interesting, folks. Actually, it will get very interesting in 2024. By the way, I'll be heading to Iowa and New Hampshire in January. And then, of course, we'll be reporting on South Carolina's presidential primary in February. That's it for today's Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list, let me encourage you to visit our website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Keep your comments coming via the Truth text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639, and keep your emails coming too. Have a great weekend. We're back on Monday. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.